Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to all of you. Thank you for joining the Halal in Travel Global Summit hosted by CrescentRating. In this panel discussion, we are going to discuss how to harness AI to improve halal travel experiences. We'll try to uncover the potential of data analytics and AI in enhancing service delivery, improving customer satisfaction, and driving innovation in the halal travel space. To discuss all that, today I have three experts here with me. Professor Mohamed Battour, professor at the Sharqiya University in Oman, and Dr. Noor, lecturer at James Cook University in Singapore, and our own Tawfiq Ikhtianto, head of research and data analytics at CrescentRating. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, this is fine.
Alhamdulillah, I'm good.
Maybe I'll just maybe ask each one of you to briefly, introduce yourself a little bit more than I did. Maybe I start with Dr. Battour. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me for this wonderful event. I am actually a chief editor of Journal of Islamic Marketing, and I have some books and also articles about halal travel in top-ranked journals. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Battour. Dr. Hafiz.
Thank you, Fazal. It's not my first time to join the Halal in Travel conference, and I'm glad to see that it's grown in this endeavor till today. I'm currently a lecturer in business at James Cook University, Singapore. My research areas include AI, technology adoption, as well as halal and hospitality.
Dr. Hafiz. Tawfiq, a bit about you.
Okay, thank you so much, Fazal. So yeah, thank you so much. This is an honor for me to be on the same stage as the experts, Dr. Battour, Dr. Hafiz. Yeah, I'm Tawfiq. I'm the head of research and data analytics from CrescentRating. And yeah, so far I've done a lot of research, especially with CrescentRating, especially on the halal travel space. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So let's start it with, I think, a very basic question, I am going to ask. And maybe we'll start off with Dr. Battour. Maybe what challenges are companies facing? I mean, it has been going on for some time. We have AI now to make it more complicated. What are the challenges that the companies are facing in collecting, analyzing data to sort of help the travel industry? I mean, in our case, of course, the halal travel industry, but in general, of course, the travel industry. What are the challenges the companies are facing? Especially smaller companies.
Okay. And for this question, actually, so we can say AI is a big challenge for most of the company in the world, not only in halal travel. But one of the main issues, especially as a Muslims, when you are talking about how can you use AI to increase or to improve Muslim-friendly tourism experience. So one of the most challenge actually is privacy. That means sometimes, sometimes we cannot guarantee the privacy related to especially Muslim culture. So that's one big challenge. I have to use AI in some way that you need to update this data in terms of protect the customer or Muslim customers' information. This one is very important. Another issue also, you cannot guarantee the data in terms of how can AI, accuracy or data quality when you are use this data to use in AI to collect data from behavioral experience, from sometimes social media. So we have big challenge actually in this area in terms of how can you use this data collected by AI as a platform or as a source to navigate this data to customize some information, to give some real-time data collection. All this data sometimes might be the accuracy, it might be is not very perfect as human. So the most important in this one is to achieve trust. Trust, that means don't depend only on what I can say, only AI to improve the Muslim tourist experience. So as of course we can use algorithms or AI to improve Muslim-friendly tourism experience, but we still have some challenge in terms of real-time data processing sometimes the accuracy, sometimes privacy. All this challenge, of course, will be sometimes affect the Muslim-friendly tourism experience. In terms of quality, in terms of all this one will be affected. So the most important is to make sure that what you can call educate or use the AI in a way that don't break the privacy or trust the credibility of the data you are using when you're trying to improve Muslim-friendly tourist experience. This is my point of view about this.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Battour. I'll come back to you later. Dr. Hafiz, your thoughts on what are the key challenges that companies are facing?
Yeah, I think
of course, yeah.
I think privacy and data protection, like what Professor Battour mentioned, is certainly key. And just adding on to that, I think one of the challenges is the fundamental question of what data exactly do we require in order to understand the needs of the Muslim travelers in the context of our travel. So, what kind of data do we actually need, and where do we collect such data? So, I think fundamentally, we also got to look at the current processes and touch points that data is being collected in the first place. Is there sufficient touch points for us to then use the data in order to understand holistically what is the customer journey like, what are the behaviors. So this, I think, remains a key issue, whether there are enough data collection touch points to begin with in the pre, in the during, and even in the post journey. And I think a second challenge, which I agree as well with Dr. Battour, is the integrity of the data itself, and whether the data sets are really tuned to the needs of the Muslim travelers. I think if we look at general data sets that are out there, certainly they serve very good purposes. For example, generative AI, we can strike a conversation with, for example, ChatGPT and all that. But I think when it comes to very peculiar conversations that evolve around culture, conversations that evolve around travelers' needs, there is a possibility that the data sets that the generative AI were trained with may not be equipped. So it's important that companies and organizations in the space also equip the AI with their own data sets. And that goes back to my point earlier of having the data in the first place, in order to train the AI so that at the end of the day, the AI can be trained with the right kind of data and then use that in order to then meet the needs of the travelers in return. So in summary, I have two there. One is the collection of the data itself remains key. And second, in using proper data sets or the availability of such data sets that are unique to Muslim travelers.
Yeah, I think all very good points. We'll expand on that a bit in a bit. Tawfiq, your thoughts on challenges, as you are facing as well, in collecting and analyzing data.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with both Dr. Battour and Dr. Hafiz. I think the main challenge right now is, first of all, when we're talking about the halal travel or halal tourism itself, the availability of the high quality data is an issue, because currently there are not many research that is done on the field of halal travel and halal tourism itself. That is one, and then the second one is obviously is the security and the security of the data, and then the everything that is collected by the companies itself. Because I mean, sometimes in several destinations, they still haven't got a proper data security, and sometimes it's still an issue for them to entrust the data to the companies itself.
Yeah, I think this whole I think we have clearly some points here. One is the privacy issue, trust issue. Is there enough data? The quality of the data. I think these are key. Let's expand a little bit on those 4 or 5 points. Maybe Dr. Battour, how do you overcome the privacy issue?
Actually, if I talk about privacy issue, I think the most important, I can say, we can make dual confirmations. That means we have to use, of course, AI, but sometimes we have to break this link between the data we have, the set we have in our hand, and when we use this data. So sometimes they say I have some problem about the specific data set. So we have to interact using human being to we can call dealing with this breaking the data set to protect our customers, because it's very important for us to make sure all the data set are protected, so we don't fully depend only on AI. So still we can interact with this data set with maybe applications or whatever, let's say booking.com or whatever, any platform. So still we have to use human being. Don't fully depend only on AI. So this one will give us some space to interact with AI technology to protect our data set, our privacy. This is the most important.
Is Dr. Hafiz, privacy issues, overcoming privacy issues?
Yeah, I think that's a good point that was brought up. The trying to manage the perception from the customer's perspective, right, on whether or not using that AI and the data that I am giving that AI, would there be a trade-off? So certainly managing that perception is key, and I think as well giving the customer some sense of control of their data, and that really requires as well that service providers, including those in the halal travel space, take the time to educate to the customers on what exactly the data is being used for. It can't be just in just fine print and the footnote which nobody reads anyway, right? Really take the time, because if the companies do not take that time, and if something goes wrong, then things then may go south for those companies as well, right? The consumers might be asking the companies, hey, why didn't you tell me that my data was being used for this and that? I mean, overall, customers in whatever space, including halal, generally we tend to be okay when it comes to trading our personal data for benefits such as personalization and all. But I think moving forward, we need to ensure that we give consumers and we inform them that indeed they have control over certain functions and whatnot. And if they are not comfortable and they are aware that, hey, because you don't trade in your data or you don't inform us of your personal data on such issues, you don't get these benefits. And if the customers are okay, then that's fine as well. So certainly, I think there needs to be more cooperation between the customers and the companies in terms of the data usage itself and how the data can be used to benefit both the companies and the customers without the expense of the customers panicking later on or not knowing what their data was being used for. So careful education is key from the organization's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, if I understand correctly, there are two types of data, right? One is the individual, very specific customer data, and then you have the aggregated data. We have,
Yes.
we have aggregated data. So I assume that we don't aggregated data which has got, removed the personal IDs and all that out of the aggregated data, and then you use that aggregated data, which is probably a lot of companies already do that, I think. But personalized data is also becoming very difficult to manage, right? Because if you don't use your behavior online, personalization becomes more and more difficult, right? I mean, take for instance YouTube or something like that. Your feeds are becoming, you're not personalized because you don't want to share your data. So how do you sort of get over that? So I think are we okay with aggregated data, and then when it comes to privacy, we are talking about more of individual data, Dr. Battour?
Actually, from my understanding, still we have, as you mentioned, I agree with you, we have two different data sets, individual, especially the personalized data. This one, actually, if I as a customer, the Muslims, if I talk about my personal data, I need to make sure before I deal with, let's say, HalalTrip or this is my personal data is protected. So the issue is, what is the effort spent by the company to protect this data? So the issue is the company need to make sure protect all the personal data. What is the issue or the strategy or tactics that the company can do for this issue? So I need to actually delivers what I can call gives the customers some confidence that we will be honest with you. Don't be afraid. We will protect your data. This is the issue regarding aggregated data. I think this one could be might be technology-based solutions. Technology-based solution means that you have to make sure you are dealing with professional company, outsource, whatever, to protect it. Because this one big issue. If you're talking about the personal view, this is a company rule. But aggregated data, you have to make sure that you are using a credible source or professional outsource to protect all these data. This we did looks like blockchain or whatever to make sure that the secure data is in one, not in any other hand, rather than the company using this data. Is my view.
I think we talked about the quality of the data as well. Especially when it comes to the Muslim traveler data. It's a bit it's a challenge. I mean, do we have enough data, as you all discussed? And two, do you have quality data, as Dr. Hafiz also mentioned? Do we have data at each of the touch points? Your thoughts on how do we build that kind of data? Of course, keeping in mind privacy and accuracy and all that.
Okay. I think from my point of view, I think I completely agree with what Dr. Hafiz and Dr. Battour said. In terms of collecting data, I think we need to ensure two things. The first one is the transparency, in the sense of all of the consumers, all of the users, the travelers, they know what their data are going to be used for. Is it for only analytics purpose? Is it for marketing purpose? Or is it for any other purpose? That's the first one. And then the second one is the consent. The consent in the sense of is it they fully know and they're fully ask whether they're okay if their data being collected or not. And then in case there are new things that are introduced by the company, in case there are new features and then the data will be utilized, then they need to update the kind of terms of use or something like that. And then the user are getting the consent whether are they okay if the data are being used or not. I think those are the most important things before we try to collect the data itself.
Dr. Hafiz, your thoughts on the quality of the data that is available for us now, I mean, especially when it comes to the Muslim consumer market.
I think adding on as well to what the other panelists said and related to what you just asked as well, we also need to be mindful of the ethical aspect of the quality. I think sometimes businesses may want to gain a competitive advantage, and in the area of AI, where everything's dynamic, many things are happening fast, there could be certain blind spots. Just I think few hours ago or just yesterday, I think all of us read the news that the actress Scarlett Johansson, she was not happy with OpenAI for using her voice in one of OpenAI's voice synthesis. So what happened was OpenAI had different voices, and according to OpenAI, using the actress's voice would help in terms of consumer acceptance. Yeah. Initially, Scarlett Johansson, she rejected, but I think yesterday, her friends and family were telling her, "Hey, why is it that this new voice sounds like you?" And now she's suing them, right? And then they took it down. So I think such ethical concerns as well need to be addressed too. I mean, we have certain privacy frameworks in Singapore. For instance, we have PDPA. In Europe, you have GDPR, and I think such governance frameworks also need to quickly look into this whole area of AI, because again, if companies try to gain a competitive advantage, um, there might be a tendency that ethically as well, certain practices may be compromised. And of course, from the halal and the Muslim space, ethics is certainly key. It's a key issue as well. So I think these are also areas that are very important that need to be looked at.
Thanks. Okay, let's move a little bit away from this discussion. Let's focus a little bit on how can we, assuming that we have all the privacy, accuracy sorted out and all that. At this moment in time, Dr. Battour, how can companies use AI to better? I think you had a paper on that as well. I think how can you better? What are the things that the companies can do to better cater to the Muslim travelers?
Okay. Actually, this one actually I published maybe 2 papers regarding this issue. What we can say here, we can use AI, as Dr. Hafiz said initially in his started talk, pre the journey or pre-trip and post-trip and also during the trip. So we have made different applications or different uses we can use in this. The most important application we can use, I can say, recommendation systems. Recommendation system means before they actually the Muslims try to select any destinations, might use AI or any other application to give him some guidance to select the recommendation. So what I can say here, we can say personalized traffic recommendation. It is very, very important to use AI in terms of maybe destination, accommodations, activity, whatever. يعني. And also we can use AI to develop some applications, يعني halal travel applications or platforms that might help يعني not only recommend but also during the staying in the destination, he might suggest or recommend restaurant or halal travel restaurant or maybe prior times, whatever any facilities the customers need. This one also very important in terms of يعني AI. Another issue is also very important, either before or after or during the stay. I can say using AI to enhance a Muslim-friendly tourism experience. That means he can give some real-time assistance or recommendation, especially let's say chatbot or whatever any other application in AI that might give the needs of Muslim during the stay, even also after the stay. In general, even also during communications, market communication or travel planning or during the stay, we have many applications that might use to increase Muslim-friendly tourism. In terms of artificial intelligence, we can use during the stay, we can use AI, combine between AI and also some application like virtual reality or augmented reality. All this application might increase the customer satisfaction, and not only this, it might also increase the customer ability to visit again the destination. So in terms of application, we have many broad actually integration between AI and the value or the satisfaction that we need to deliver to the Muslims when they target specific destinations. So this is an overview of how can we use AI before we travel or during the stay, even also after traveling. We give some feedback, some recommendation, we collect some data to improve the service in the future and also improve the customers or Muslim customer loyalty or retention.
Thanks, Dr. Battour. Dr. Hafiz, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so just taking another different paradigm as well. Certainly AI, we can see that it affects almost all of the core functions of hospitality, right? For instance, if we look at functions such as billing, such as payment, we see that AI can be used along with automation to ensure that there is efficiency. When we look at, for example, giving information to the customer, with the advent of generative AI as well, chatbots are now more dynamic, and it's just beyond information too. We have phenomenon such as AI concierge services that can perhaps offer a whole suite of trip planning right at the reception. So that is certainly at the frontier of hospitality as well. You can imagine that, for example, a traveler going to a particular hotel, it's greeted by an AI concierge that would be able to speak in that language, would be able to identify whether the traveler is a family group, it's a female solo traveler, or henceforth, and then customize the level of interaction accordingly. And certainly as well, we can see that that also leads to AI further enhancing certain aspects that made certain service sectors be more competitive in terms of their offerings. For example, hospitality, which is key when it comes to, of course, the hospitality industry. Yeah, for example, in the Muslim culture and the Muslim world, we have phrases such as ala raksi, right? On top of my head. The service is literally something that is really valued from the service provider's perspective, yeah, the Muslim service provider's perspective. And with AI, we can certainly enhance that and perhaps even give more meaning to what it is. I think when we look at AI as well, we have to remember that AI can be used as a primary tool, and we see this, for example, in ChatGPT, for instance, or AI can be used as a supporting technology, yeah, above and over the many other emerging technologies. So, for example, when we look at even metaverse, virtual reality, underneath that is that AI engine that is able to capture that data and it's able to give and support these new experiences. So perhaps it's even able to unlock new experiences as well. I mean, specifically for halal travel, if we look at the spirit of what travel is supposed to be in the Islamic tradition, yeah, it's supposed to be something spiritual, bringing us closer to God. But we can ask ourselves, how many of such trips actually have such a real value proposition? But perhaps with the metaverse, with AI, we can realize, yeah, such value propositions and even bring travel closer to what it should mean, yeah, in the Islamic tradition. So certainly, lots of potential AI across the different functions of travel itself, from information to order taking to billing to payment to consultation. It's certainly a disruptive technology in that aspect.
Thanks. Yeah, obviously, I think it's such a vast area. So, Tawfiq, do you have any thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I think for me, the main power of AI and big data itself is their ability to translate data from various sources into an informative insight for the companies and also for the researchers to better understand the preferences and also the requirements for the traveler itself. And then when we're talking about the source, it can come from literally everywhere, starting from social media and then travel reviews and then booking patterns, even like weather forecast, it can also be the source of the data that is analyzed by AI and big data. And then for the implementation itself, as what mentioned by Dr. Hafiz and then Dr. Battour, I think it can be anything, starting from the itinerary for the basic ones, and then the itinerary can be more personalized. It can follow the Muslim traditions, let's say, and then perhaps if you visit an attraction, it can also recommend the closest prayer rooms and or the closest halal restaurants, or even it can also recommend you to somehow which one is the busy hour, which one is not, and then which attraction should you visit in case you come there at the prayer times or something like that. So the implementation is actually very wide. And then furthermore, we also discussed about AI chatbots. How is it getting improved day by day? And then in the end, I mean, perhaps one day we will see a real-time travel apps that can show the which one is the latest halal restaurant that still opens, and then which nearby malls that can be accessible. So yeah, I mean, and then obviously after that, it also collect the data from the travelers, from what the travelers done previously. So yeah, I think in the end, it helps a lot for the companies, and then it can also provide a really personalized recommendation for the travelers themselves.
Yeah, true. I think the issue for smaller companies is that this is a very costly affair, right? Building such applications, such services is very, it's not easy. So how does small companies, be on, otherwise we'll be go back to, five major companies dominating the AI scene, or we are at the mercy of their data anyway. So how do small companies, make sure that they're not left behind, because the cost of doing this is not easy, Dr. Battour?
I think this one also big challenge for a small company because yes, as you said, sometimes maybe the big company can use this technology for recommendation or collecting data. I agree with all of you about this. But what I can say, at least let's say small hotel, how can we use this AI to satisfy Muslims when during the stay? I think what I can see here, at least assistance, you can use small application or whatever, not much investment to collect some data about the preferences to real-time information. Let's say during the trip in Singapore, he might maybe lost or whatever. Maybe chatbot. Chatbot is very easy now. يعني chatbot is basic. Any company can develop a chatbot to give any assistance. No need to call the hotel again or to call any other person in charge. We can just use chatbot as a basic tools for a small company. Another issue, not only for recommendation, even also for collecting some data for preferences before the Muslim visit any. This is not huge data. It is small data. Just maybe the customer might need just to fill out some information, what he like, what he dislike. Based on this, you can customize. Because the main issue is to how can you use the effectiveness of technology to customize or personalize service for your customers. So this one, of course, will increase the satisfaction of your customer. So yes, we as a small company, we don't need to invest a lot of money to use AI. We just use some facilities or application to increase satisfaction during the stay at least. Not even before or after, at least during the stay. So this one, you need to invest a lot of money or much money to improve your service or quality using AI. But the most important is the quality of data. How can you collect the personalized or quality of data and invest in this quality of data to improve the service you deliver to your customers? This is not need much money to invest in using AI.
Dr. Hafiz, your thoughts on smaller companies in the AI space? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the good news is we are seeing that such technologies are becoming more democratized. So, for example, if we look at ChatGPT, there is an enterprise version that's available. So, what this means is small companies can explore and potentially use ChatGPT at scale, right? And this was something that perhaps was not really possible in the past. I mean, I remember once upon a time I had to try to train my own chatbot, yeah, and it was not easy. And attempting to scale that as well would be time consuming and probably take up a lot of resources. But it's getting easier for small companies to be on board. And I think when we discuss about AI as well and its practicality, like what Dr. Batu mentioned, we have to be mindful that AI is made up of many things, right? And if we start from the basis of what are our current challenges as a small company, for example, let's say my challenge as a small company is I don't have enough staff to create content. I mean, that's certainly one aspect that AI can be used today to resolve, right? We have ChatGPT, the free version, is already good enough to some extent. And we see, for example, ChatGPT 4 or GPT-4. This is now available for free if you use Microsoft's software. So there are many softwares out there, including generative AI, that is now increasingly more available for companies. I think content creation is certainly one aspect that we can see that there is a already viable way to close that gap. So I think starting from the point of view of what are our current challenges, looking at what the challenges are, and seeing what types of AI could possibly be used to fill those gaps, I think that can be a very practical starting point for small companies.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Tawfiq, you handle a lot of data, and what are your main challenges?
Yeah. So I think if we talk about the how small company keep up with the newest trend compared to the big company, I think in the end it's all about what problem you're trying to solve, and then I mean with the right now we have all of the access to AI and start as what Dr. Hafiz said, you can start from the free ones up until the paid ones. I think in the end, it's all about what innovation that you are trying to offer. So, I mean, if we're looking at the AI company itself, it's not really coming from the big names. It's not really coming from Microsoft or Apple or something like that. Right now, we can see that the market leader is on OpenAI, which a company is only established in 2015, and we're talking about Microsoft. It's a long, long history compared to OpenAI. So I mean, in the end, I think they have all of the tools, and then if they manage to understand and utilize it, and then over the practicality, as what Dr. Battour said, I think it's easy for them to keep up with the big names.
Dr. Battour, I wanted to talk a little bit on the research in the academia. What's in your, you have published a few papers on this as well. Or what are the key focus in the academia in terms of this whole sector currently, and also maybe you can share some of the papers that you have published as well.
Actually, we have recently published paper about how can you use ChatGPT, for example, or GPT-4. So we actually opened the space. What is the future research recommendation? What is other researcher can do to improve research, especially for halal travel? So we find actually it's based on our research so many areas we can call it research gaps. One of them, how can we integrate, let's say, ChatGPT with other applications? Or how can we use this application together to improve the Muslim-friendly tourism experience? Another issue also for research gap, how can we protect this issue that we raised in the beginning today? How can we use this AI, but at the same time achieve the privacy? How can we protect the Muslim-friendly privacy using any other applications? So how can we, either using qualitative data or quantitative research or mixed methods? We have many actually, we identify around 12 research gaps we can use. Another issue, how can we use AI and also in the same times achieves a Muslim-friendly tourist experience or satisfactions? How can we increase satisfaction using AI? Because sometimes you need to use some applications in AI, but this one going wrong. So how can we recover the surface in terms of, let's say, the data is broken or the privacy you cannot protect? How can we use this issue to protect the privacy in terms of if something having gone wrong? This one also need research. Actually, I can say many research area we need to explore. How can we use effectively AI to achieve Muslim-friendly or to satisfy or to increase Muslim-friendly tourism experience, either using qualitative research or quantitative research. But at the ground, we have to make sure that we are in the right way.
Dr. Hafiz, you're involved in any research from an academic point of view?
Yeah, so I can think of two recent papers, and some of the insights were that I noticed that generally when it comes to technology and innovation sort of research, if we compare the different halal industries, there's certainly much more work to be done in the halal tourism space. It looks like when it comes to areas of Islamic finance and banking, there's tons of research there on technology, right?
Yeah.
And I think certainly this is also opportunity for cross fertilization of ideas. Perhaps we can also learn from our Islamic banking counterparts on what they've learned as well in adopting technologies in their sector, and how can this be sort of benefit in us trying to adopt it as well. So that's one I can think of. Another one is in the area of AI service quality, and one of the things that we found out is that uh, human-like characteristics they play a key role in service quality when it comes to customers interacting with the AI. So the nature of the human-like characteristics. The technical term for that is anthropomorphism. Um, and where I think this is also interesting when it comes to the halal space is what kind of human-like characteristics are accepted by Muslims, right? So, for example, if you imagine a solo female traveler, remember that AI concierge I was talking about. So, the person who's greeting that female solo traveler, should it be a female? Should it be a male? What kind of voice should it be? Should it even be virtual? Should it be a something that's more physical in terms of its characteristics? Should it have a name? Shouldn't it have a name? So these are emerging areas as well in research. And I think if you overlap that with our own cultural considerations in the Muslim space, there are many opportunities there to uncover what sort of human-like characteristics are optimal. I mean, just to give you an example, let's say we talk about service recovery. So should the service recovery be handled by AI? Should it be not? And what kind of AI also are we talking about, right? Should it be virtual? Should it be a physical robot going to your room saying sorry, and so on and so forth? So I think certainly the Muslim element there brings about many opportunities as well when it comes to the area of anthropomorphism, human-like characteristics in AI.
Tawfiq, in the work that you do, is there, what would you like that there's more research on, when you're doing your work, you find that, it would be nice to have some academic research or, on a certain area.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So yeah, I think from my end, I think as I mentioned earlier, the main issue that we have right now is actually the lack of data and then the lack of high quality data, obviously. So for me, I think moving forward, I think right now, if we're talking about AI implementation in the Muslim travel space, it's only limited to mainly the surface quality, how it's going to be make the surface faster and something like that. Perhaps I think in the future we can also talk about the integration between the financial ones. Let's say how we can utilize the better payment systems that can be used all over the world. Perhaps right now we have Visa and Mastercards. Perhaps I think it's also open into a bigger players and other players to come into the scenario, and then perhaps another thing how we can use the mobile phones all over the world, because right now we're limited with the roamings, and then some travelers still needs to buy new SIM cards whenever they enter new countries. And then perhaps the academic research can also touch parts on the immigration development. How can AI and technology can make the immigration system faster and then more better for the traveler itself. I think moving forward, those are the things that can be acknowledged by the researchers, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Battour, let's move on from now the Muslim traveler itself, right? From Muslim traveler itself, how do they, how do you suggest that they interact with AI, providing information, providing data? How should they balance getting the right services, but also, making sure that they don't share too much of whatever they think are more private. What's the advice that you would like to give for the traveler itself?
For travel itself, actually, I think the most important way interact with AI and the common application now we are using, it might be ChatGPT. It's most common nowadays. It's easy and free. But my suggestion for as a Muslim, I tried actually this one. The most important is culture differences. So as a Muslim, you have different cultures. So sometimes, let's say, if you visit Iran or you visit Egypt, or sometimes you ask some questions. And I have experience about this actually when we asked ChatGPT to give us itinerary to visit Indonesia for 10 days. Actually, give us some information. It's not credible. Sometimes it's wrong. So still we need to use AI, but still in early stage. My advice to interact with AI, but don't. It is also my lifestyle is to double check the advising. I cannot only take the suggestion from one source. Still you can use ChatGPT or still use AI, but still you need to double check confirm the data that you receive that you are in the right way. Let's say it looks like GPS. When you're using GPS, sometimes give you wrong direction. But I am using my own skills. So if he give me right direction, I will select my own way to go the right way. So this is the same. So when you are using AI, you have to be careful or AI. Still you can use, but still in the early stage as a Muslims, we have different cultures, especially from Islamic teaching, we have different view about any specific issue. So don't ask, let's say, when we go for somewhere, what they eat, what is the common practice in Iran compared with Egypt. Of course, we have different. The base, the Islamic teaching, we have something common based among all of us as the Muslims, but we still have some differences. So you need to confirm the information or the advice or suggestion from AI. This is my advice, the main advice.
Dr. Hafiz, for consumers, travelers.
Yeah, I think it's not to just rely on one tool for the answer. Yeah, so it's echoing what Dr. Battour just said. It's very tempting to imagine this AI answer that we are getting from that one tool as being the magical answer. Yeah, it's perfect, but I think just taking as a step back, pausing, and perhaps using more than one tool, just comparing the different answers that each AI tool is bringing about would be useful. I mean, not just for consumers, but also for businesses as well. I mean, in terms of content creation, like we just mentioned, right? You could be using one tool to generate that posting, and you could then compare it with another tool, right? And see which one is somewhat better and whatnot. I think by using more than one tool, it certainly can lower the risk of the information being false or the information not being accurate. Yeah. So yeah, using more than one AI tool.
Dr. Hafiz, so I'll stay with you. So when you travel,
Mm.
what AI tools have you been using?
I have used ChatGPT before when traveling to try to understand uh, certain phenomenon or maybe certain cultures, and ChatGPT has been useful to give me a quick summary, right, of what I need to know. And I use that because I can imagine if I were to use Google and I use search engines, I might just end up with, opening many windows and trying to synthesize it on my own. So I think AI is good at synthesizing information that is descriptive in nature, right? So, for example, tell me the current situation in, let's say, if I go to Malaysia, right, what's the best spots during this time? What are people doing during this time? I think descriptive sort of information, AI is pretty good at that. But when it comes to recommendations, giving me sort of prescribing me things to do, this is where I get a bit careful, right? Get careful, and I then will compare to see whether or not it's even relevant and accurate and up to date. So that's how my usage has been when it's traveling. I mean, if I recall, when I stayed in Australia, no, that's not really traveling, but that's more of staying in another country for a long time. I used to have Google Home, and Google Home sort of kept us company. Google Home Mini, right? It will keep us company by helping us to do many things, switching off the lights, switching on the radio, telling me what's out there. So it kept us company in terms of providing us with an extra family member, so to say. So yeah, AI, it just says the dynamism, but I guess for different functions, I would just be then slightly more careful. Describing certain things, it's fine, but when it comes to then recommending, I would then probably use more than one tool to help me do that.
What are the other tools? Sorry, to stay on this, like you have ChatGPT, you have to use, Gemini or Cloud
Yeah, so
.ai.
I mean, I would triangulate
I mean,
ChatGPT with, yeah.
I'm talking about Gen AI, probably Gen AI tools, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would triangulate what I get from ChatGPT with other sources that are non AI. It would
Okay.
still be good old Google search, and it would
Okay.
still be good old WhatsApp groups and even social media, right? Just to uh, get the diverse viewpoints. So I've not reached the stage yet whereby it's purely AI for certain decisions, because I probably am still skeptical at the kind of data that it has, and I guess I do that as well because of my awareness of where the data comes from, and how the AI synthesizes it as well. So that's why I still rely on other non-AI sources when it comes to decision making.
Tawfiq, what do you use when you're planning your trip?
Well, to be honest, I do not use AI often when planning trips, but I think I'm pretty similar with what Dr. Hafiz said earlier. I mean, normally I would just try to understand the cultural appropriation about the place that I'm about to visit, and then how exactly works things there. I mean, just try to understand the basic things, because I mean, I share the same worry as what Dr. Battour and Dr. Hafiz said. It might show you an inaccurate recommendation and stuff like that. So I try as much as possible to hold myself from trying to ask a recommendation in terms of activities and stuff, because it might be there and sometimes it might not be there. So yeah, I think in the end, I completely agree with Dr. Hafiz. The main use for AI is their ability to synthesize something that if you just search on Google, it would take you a lot of taps, but somehow they can summarize that for you and then make it easier for you to understand.
Right. Dr. Battour, do you use AI to plan your trips?
Yes, يعني not too much. يعني actually I can use only of course ChatGPT just to give some recommendation. I am not يعني technology based person يعني, to be honest with you. I'm very يعني, but sometimes I use ChatGPT to give me some recommendation. But still I need to confirm the advice or anything. But we as a researcher actually we use. But the conclusion after we research, when we ask the ChatGPT to give an itinerary plan using halal friendly يعني in destination in Indonesia. But we are sure, even also يعني paid one, not free one, paid one. They give us some 10 days itinerary, but still not accurate. يعني. We actually double check this one with someone in Indonesia and we ask him, is this okay or not, before we publish the paper. Even also the reviewer request us to put the itinerary for 10 days. But before we publish this in 10 days, we give it to someone in Indonesia, please. Otherwise, give us some places is not found in this Indonesia at all. So, so we double check actually. So I use only for some advice, maybe for restaurants. يعني if you can, but still we need to go for search engine as like يعني Mr. Tawfiq or Dr. Rahbi said. We still need to go again to research engine to double check the credibility of this suggestion or advice.
You all are saying that search engines are a lot more credible than AI synthesizing
No,
the
I
data.
cannot say more. I can say more credible, but what I can say, we still in early stage using AI in our يعني traveling. ChatGPT is still in early stage. يعني I expect maybe 5 days, next 5 years. Sorry, I think we will be more advanced application with credible information, with credible يعني accuracy. This maybe we still in early stage. If you look back, ChatGPT 5 or 3 years back, it was just يعني even now nobody knows, but now it's more يعني than we still especially technology يعني based. We are very يعني going in this way very fast. Every day you have new applications, you have new. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, so we're still in early stage.
Okay, we are
Fazal,
coming up on time, so yeah, go ahead.
Just like, can I add on, I just remember one thing. So another way I use AI when traveling is sometimes I'm too tired to think of how to write the post on LinkedIn. Let's say I want to write something and I'm too tired, right? Now, because Samsung AI, there's already AI integrated into the Android phone, it makes it easier to write that post and publish it on LinkedIn. So if it's integrated as well, and it's easy to use, and then it helps me as well in terms of the effort. So I just remember that one.
I think Meta also. I think WhatsApp has introduced. WhatsApp has Meta now. WhatsApp has AI integrated into WhatsApp. I haven't used, but how does it work? But okay, we are coming on our time. I have one last question for each of you very quickly. So we are dealing with. I mean, once again, what would each of you would suggest as some of the tools that small companies could use to start understanding AI or build AI applications? I start with Dr. Hafiz. What kind of tools that small companies could explore?
Okay, so I would have answered ChatGPT, but just to give another value to the answer itself, I think small companies, what they can do is to also collaborate more. And I mean, I would just be biased here and to collaborate with academics more. because when it comes to frontier of AI and insights, especially in the Muslim travel space, we have active researchers such as Dr. Battour and many others who are looking into trying to solve these issues. And if companies can have academics on board as advisors to also give insights, I think that would be very beneficial.
Battour?
I think I don't repeat what I said before, but I think we, as I mentioned, we are early stage. So the basic one is to use to collect informations, very basic information. That's like ChatGPT or whatever. I think also one of the most important that any hotel or hospitality can use very easy is to use AI integrated with some chatbot system in here, in-house chatbot to maybe as use as a real-time assistant. Real-time assistant means he can, if he face any problems, he can use this application to help the customers during the stay. To instead of calling the hotels or calling the restaurant, this one might be and is early stage to maybe use in the future for developing application whatever.
Tawfiq?
Okay, from my side, I think perhaps for starters, obviously ChatGPT. But other than that, I think it depends on what problem you're trying to solve because there are a lot of AI tools that we can find on the market right now, and each of them has different purpose. Each of them tackle different problems. So you just need to take whatever suits you, whatever helps you to solve your problem. Then I think it will be okay for you.
Thank you very much, all of you. Do you have any last comments, Dr. Battour, on AI? Do you have any last comments? Final comment?
I think maybe the last comment I can use, that means in the future we can use AI for many different applications, different areas that you can use in either use big company or small company, like customized information, halal recommendation, or how can we use for Muslim facilities to satisfy Muslims. So we have many actually areas we can use AI, especially for travel itinerary, sometimes solve overcoming some language barriers or maybe culture differences. So these are actually need more research to come up with a high quality application using AI to satisfy Muslim tourists.
Thank you. Dr. Hafiz?
I'm looking forward when we use AI in travel and it helps us to then become more human when we go traveling. Yeah, so that aspect itself.
Thanks, Tawfiq.
Yeah, I think for me, I would say, as what mentioned by Dr. Hafiz and Dr. Battour, right now the AI is still on early stage of development, so it's still open for any other development, especially in the halal travel space itself. So there are still a lot of innovation that is needed, and obviously, when we're talking innovation, then it would need a lot of collaboration between parties. So the companies also need to understand the customers, so everyone needs to join together to build this for a better AI in the future.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Thank you very much for the audience for joining us today. I hope it was useful for both travelers as well as companies to understand where we are with AI. We don't have all the answers, but it's a journey. But the thing is that we all have to, get into this journey. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. But it still has a lot more to go. So hopefully, all of you had some insights from this discussion. Thank you very much for joining, and please join the other sessions as well. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.